Hi guys. So with the holidays coming up and, family things coming, I thought I'd pop out a video about toxic family, which is something I'm an expert as well, I have a lot of toxic family. So first of all, I grew up in a little small town, not like small enough that you have one stoplight, but small enough that you know like the big names in the town. And my family just happens to be a big name in the town I live in. And so, with that big name comes big expectations. And, well, let's just say I don't meet expectations very well. So, when I was little, I wanted to be a tarot card reader, which I am now, but that's a long story. That's another story for another day. And I was told that I wasn't allowed to be because we don't do those things. As I grew up, I realized that I was just not normal like the rest of my family, I guess. It wasn't normal, it was just I was different. I didn't believe in a lot of stuff that they believed in. Like, I didn't believe in the Bible. I didn't believe, Jesus Christ hung on the cross. I didn't believe in some of their views on the world. Like, they believe that, free lunches shouldn't exist. Children should just starve. If you can't afford to feed your kid, that's your problem. It was that type of family, and that's toxic for me. And then there's another form of toxicity that happens in my family, and that would be my biological mother. She's a nut job. We used to like go to school and she used to say, "Oh, when I come home, I might not be here. I might have like killed myself." Like, yeah, kindergarten type shit. So it's a lot of toxicity. And then there's my sister who's toxic to me, who likes to use and abuse me and then turn around and say I did it to her. I helped her raise her kids for many, many, many years. Helped homeschool her kids. I homeschooled her kids for her. She lived with us. We paid all the bills. We took care of the kids. We did everything. And then when we finally got tired of doing it, we were the assholes. Um, our most recent fallout was in May of this year, and I haven't really spoken to her since. But in May, she called me a bad mom, a bad aunt, a bad sister, everything under the moon that's not true about me because I love my kids. I'm an awesome mom. I love to homeschool my kids. I love to see my kids learn and grow. Um, I love my family, my husband, my sons. So everything, it turns out everything she was saying about me was her portraying it upon me because the next day Children's Services showed up because she decided to get her 15-year-old daughter high and she had a seizure. So it was a portrayal of what she was actually doing and what she actually was, not about me. So that was a big lesson for me to learn that day. But I learned it, and I've stayed away from her because after that, she kind of went downhill. I mean, she's gotten into more hardcore drugs. She's quit her job. She's lost her car. She's just not where I am spiritually or mentally. So I stay away from her because she can be really bad and I can get sucked in and manipulated really fast by her. I've learned that about myself. Like, she's my sister and I've been raised my whole life. Your sister is everything, Who's going to be there when you die? When everybody dies, she's going to be your sister. Well, that's not true. But I wanted to talk about how getting rid of toxic family and toxic family members is so much better for you and your personal family that you have with your husband or your spouse and your kids and whatever. It's easy to get sucked back in, but it's better to just stay out. I I walked away from my grandparents almost 3 years ago. It was 2020, right before the pandemic hit. I walked away because they called my husband a bum, which is like, you don't go after my husband. So after that, I sat down and I went deep in myself, and I'm like, is this behavior what I want to accept in my life for me and my children and my husband? And it was no. So I sat down and I wrote a letter. And they owned my house at the time. They bought my house. And they owned my house at the time. And I was like, well, what's the worst they can do? Kick me out of my house? Like, that's the worst they can do. They can't do anything else to me. So I sat down and I wrote out the letter about how I didn't really care who they thought they were or what they thought they were. You don't disrespect my husband. He's done everything. Like, he doesn't let me work. I stay at home with the kids. He goes to work. He just got a second job so we can make ends meet because, well, the economy fucking sucks and his job decided to take overtime off. So we had to make ends meet. He's an awesome guy. And they wanted me to divorce him and leave him and all this other stuff. And it just was not happening. So I wrote the letter and nothing happened. And when they bought the house, my husband and I decided that since they was older, they was in their 90s, that before anybody could pass away, we was going to pay the house off. So we paid the house off that year, same 2020, we paid the house off. Miraculously, we pulled all the money. It was 10 grand. Miraculously, we pulled all the money together to pay off that 10 grand debt and buy our house. And like, we owned our house. Mind you, we'd made payments before this, but 10 grand was what we owed at the time. We bought the house. We own our house. Like, I own my house outright. No questions asked. Then my grandfather died. And that was hard on me because I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't. By then, I'd already went through my own spiritual grief of losing them for like the second or third time in my life. And I was just done. I didn't want to go to the funeral. I didn't want to see him again. I was done. My grandfather I respect and I still love to this day. I go visit his gravestone very often. And I talk to him a lot and he comes and visits me. Other than that, I'm good. I don't want anything to do with my grandmother or my aunt. Or my mother or my sister. So once I got rid of like the first toxic part, which was my grandparents, it was easier to get rid of the rest because I started to realize I don't deserve to be treated like this. Like, I'm an awesome person. I will do anything for anybody. I would drop whatever I was doing in the day. If they called and was like, hey, can you come out? I'd drop anything I was doing. Anything I was doing. Whatever it was. Whether it was for me, my kids, my husband, it didn't matter. Sure, I'll be out there. No problem. And then after that, my mother and I got into it on Easter. She did not feel well on Easter. So I had Easter dinner because I had most of the holidays. I had Easter dinner. And she decided she wasn't going to come because she didn't feel well, which was fine. So after we had our Easter dinner, we gathered up the leftovers. We took them over to her house. And she proceeded to scream at me about how I was a horrible daughter because I had Easter without her. We should have just packed everything up, the kids and all, and just brought it over to her house so she could have had Easter too. I was done. I grabbed my son, who was like not even 2 at the time. He wasn't even 2 yet. Grabbed my youngest, told my oldest to get in the car, and we left. And I've never been back. I haven't talked to her since. I haven't been back. It's been great. And my sisters fall out. It has been so peaceful to just let those people go. And when you let it go, others come in to not necessarily fulfill that spot, but others come in that you didn't expect at all. So you kind of have to let the universe and karma do its job with other people, and you just got to worry about yourself. And the toxic family this time of year, this is why everybody hates Christmas. It's the toxic family. I remember how stressed I would get about having to go to my grandparents for Christmas. It was horrible. I'd be stressed. My husband would be stressed. My kids would be stressed. You could feel the tension the moment I woke up on Christmas morning about how I had to be, how my kids had to be perfect and nobody could say anything out of line, how my husband had to be perfect and perfectly cut shaved and all this stuff. It don't matter. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. If that's how your family wants to treat you, is you have to be picture perfect all the time, it's not worth it. If your family treats you like dirt and you're below them, you're a second class citizen, you don't deserve that either. Like, you deserve to be treated the way you treat others. And if you treat others beautifully and nicely and kindly and you love them, you deserve that back. And if you have that not in your life, then you need to get rid of the people that are in your life like that. Mom, dad, sister, brother, grandparents, aunts, uncles. It don't matter. Get rid of them. Go make your own life. Go do your own thing. Because the toxicity is going to kill you. Like, it will kill you. The stress will kill you. I I'm so glad I got rid of them because now I take care of myself. I do yoga. I eat better. I'm healthier. I've quit smoking for the most part. Like, I still social smoke, but I quit smoking. Like, I have made such drastic changes in my life the last 10 months, just getting rid of people that were toxic to me than anything. Like, it is such a relief and such a stress relief to get rid of toxic family. And if you are the toxic family, then maybe you should look at yourself and think about maybe getting some counseling, getting some help. Like, if you're downgrading anybody else in your family instead of uplifting them to where they need to be, you need to look within yourself. And toxic family is horrible this time of year. So I just want everybody to know that you're loved, whether by me or by anybody else, you are loved. And you just have to find that love tribe. And if your family, your biological family that you were born into, is not your love tribe, that is okay. Don't feel guilty about it. It's not worth it. It's not worth feeling bad because you can't get along with your biological family. What what says that we have to get along with them? What says that we have to have the holidays with them? Like, if a holiday is more peaceful with just you and your little family or your spouse and your kids, if that's more helpful to you and more peaceful to you, do it. Please do it. Just do it once and see how it works. Just 1 year. Be like, you know what? I think we're gonna clock out of holiday excavations this year, and we're just gonna stay home and chill and see what happens and enjoy the time with your kids. That's the most important part, is your kids. And if your kids seem happier after all this, maybe reconsider what you're doing for the holidays. Um, I now spend time with my dad and she's a stepmom, but in our family, she's our mom because I'm a stepmom too, but I raised my son since he was 6 months old. So I'm a stepmom, but not. She's a stepmom, but not. So that's what I do. And they're so nice. They're so kind. I was out of their lives for 10 years and I showed back up after I fell out with my grandparents and stuff. And they was so kind and so generous and so welcoming. And they didn't have to be. Like, it's been 10 years. They didn't have to be kind to me, but they were. So, and those are the ones I resonated the most as with a child because they let me be who I was. And I'm a quirky person. I'm an out there person. I think of out there things, and I have a tendency to drive people nuts because I'm like, well, what makes the alphabet the alphabet? And everybody thinks I'm a little out there, but they accept my out there-ness. Like, they accept that I'm a tarot card reader and I'm not your normal typical person. I'm a hippie. I love to hug trees. Like, they have no problem with that. But 2, 3 years ago, I wasn't that person because I wasn't allowed to be that person because every time I did something strange or weird, it was, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? So I'm not the same person, but I spend my holidays with a lot nicer people now. And I spend my holidays with people that love my kids, accept my kids, know that my youngest is a wild child to the end, but they love us anyhow. They accept us anyhow. And we don't have to agree. Like, that's one thing I've learned. I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't have to agree with them. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. That's what makes the world go round. But not agreeing and hating each other is two different things. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody. I just decide to stay away from those who aren't as kind as I am or aren't as kind as they should be, and they portray things of themselves onto me. And that's what toxic family does. Or they're like, well, yeah, I did this, but you did that. Well, that's not family either. You want to be able to open speak freely, but not be judged, especially by your own family, you know? Love unconditionally, and you don't want to be judged by your family. If you're being judged by your family, that's toxic. That's horrible. Get away from it. Go find friends to hang out with for the holidays. Go do something else for the holidays. But understand that you don't have to be around toxic family. You don't have to do it. What are they going to do to you if you decide not to go? What, not, you don't go next year, so you have another peaceful Christmas. Yay, you. Like, what are they going to do to you? If you decide you're no longer dealing with their toxicity and you're no longer dealing with their issues with you that are not your own, they have to grow. And that means that you've grown as a person to realize you don't deserve to be treated as you're being treated. You deserve to be treated with love and kindness and acceptance and met where you are in life. You are exactly where you were meant to be and where you're supposed to be. You are exactly at the decision you are meant to be and where you're supposed to be. And if that means getting rid of toxic family, then please, 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 for your own sanity, get rid of toxic family. It's a beautiful side. Like, it's hard. You go through a grieving process. I did. I went through a horrible grieving process when I got rid of everybody. And some days I still grieve the loss of my sister and the relationship I thought we had, not the relationship we had. See, we trick ourselves into thinking that, oh, it was such a great relationship. And when you actually like sit down and go deep within yourself and you start thinking about it and you start really, really, really realizing, was that really a good relationship for me? That's when we start making the good decisions about what's good for us and not necessarily what's good for everybody else. Everybody else doesn't matter. It's your life. What matters is what you want and the peace that you need. Okay, so that's my little spew for the day. Get rid of your toxic family. They're horrible. Nobody should be treated badly by their own family. It's horrible. I'm treated nicer by strangers than I am by family. It's terrible. It's terrible. And like they see something in me that's not there. And they hold stuff against me. I was a horrible child. I was a horrible teenager. I was a horrible person back then. I was so mean to the adults around me. But they hold that against me. And it's like I was a teenager then. I was an asshole because of the environment I was in. Once I got out of that environment, I quit being an asshole and I started being kind and loving and caring. And they just want to see me as that asshole child I was. And I'm not that anymore. And, I'm such a hippie and love and peace and serenity and yoga. And it just doesn't make sense to me why everybody has to be mean to each other if you're in the same family. Like, there's a reason you're in the same family. I guess my reason was to break ties with everybody, but still, there's a reason. And like being toxic to each other is not a good way to spend the holidays. So if you have toxic family that's mean to you, that you feel stressed out before you even go to the family get together, that you don't feel like you can relax around that family, like you can be yourself around that family, don't go around that family. Don't do that to yourself. Love yourself more than that. You have to. You have to. It's the biggest lesson I've learned in the last recent years. You have to love yourself first. It's kind of like the mom on the airplane with the two kids. Who do you give the gas mask or the air mask to first? Yourself. Because if something happens to you, who's going to take care of your kids? Duh. Like, come on, people. So, I just wanted to put that little quick message out there. If you have toxic family, get away from them. Your life will be so much better and so much more peaceful. You'll be able to manifest easier because you won't have that dread and that negative energy vibe around you anymore. So you can, vibe better. Like, it's so much better. Get rid of your toxic family. They're bad. And you deserve so much better than that. So much better than that. Everybody deserves better than that. All right, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.